Hmm.
Hmm. NASDAQ. What is the NASDAQ? This is the first electronically traded stock market.
Hmm.
And we're just going to take a look at how things have been in the past. Again, history doesn't repeat itself, but it sometimes rhymes. The dot-com bubble, it reached a culmination towards the beginning of 2000, and then we saw the big decline where across these 2 years lost 81% of its value. Of course, that coincided with, the Patriot Act, which set the stage for mass surveillance, where by the end of September 2002, it took just 5 years. Yeah. We might as well. It took 5 years. 2007 is when there was another peak before it finally dropped and found support at around $1,000. It was then, from 2007 onwards, that the NASDAQ proceeded to 25x. Now, of course, it is across a couple of decades. Well, 15 years, 16 years. But this here is a, how do I describe this? This is a very glaring example of how the electronic age, how the information age fed an entire exchange. This is a separate stock exchange. I don't really bring it up that much. Again, go ahead. Yeah.
Separate from what?
Oh, separate from the New York Stock Exchange,
Oh,
or the Toronto Stock Exchange, or London Exchange. This is its own exchange,
mm. Why did I think that it was?
specifically around tech.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And I never really followed it before because my background is so much more into the foreign currencies, the foreign exchange realm of things. But this is a good relevance for what we're looking at today, because I think that we're going to see this take off simply because more and more tech is going in. Like, look at how we looked at the other charts, and you can just see right away where COVID crash happened. Can you see where the COVID crash happened in this chart? No, it was not here. This was
Oh,
September 2008.
oh, okay then.
The COVID barely moved this thing. In fact, Biden's era did more damage than COVID right here.
Crazy.
Yeah. In fact, right after COVID, more than doubled that first couple of years. So I'm going to make the argument that this will continue to rise, that this one will likely not see a decline, a crash, simply because this will end up collecting more and more of the tech companies around the world as it goes up, as it goes forward. But I just wanted to bring it up. There's not much more to talk about it, but I wanted to bring it up because it's another chart. It's another chart.
Well, it's another indicator of the game.
Yep, totally. a major contributor to the electronic game. Because this one here is electronically traded. This isn't something like it's you can trade it on Wall Street, but it's electronically traded. Before it was always putting the orders in manually for all of these exchanges. Yes, digitally you type it into a computer, but there's still a manual transaction that occurs. Whereas with this was, and it's not like they all do this now, but this one was the first electronically traded exchange. High frequency trading was largely pioneered with the NASDAQ. Like here's 1995. I don't have data before this, but 1995, right out of the gate, the first year, huge jump, and it took off very well. 7x, within that first decade of the internet. .com bubble had a big effect on it, and it very well may that the AI bubble will have a drastic effect on this as well, simply because AI is feeding so much tech. But I still feel like there's going to be a cushion, because what happens with all of these bubbles? It's a transference. It's one party becomes the next party, right? So in the same way that we saw that transference more so like on the US 30, we saw that, where this, like, look at how much more COVID had an effect, right? Yeah. But that also created a transference where money started moving into another realm. I think we're going to see something like that where, it's the Amazons and the Googles, these big companies, their money is going to be repurposed. It's going to be changing shape. It's going to be changing form. And that will end up comprising the majority of the NASDAQ. So we'll check that out every once in a while. Do a quick recap of the week. Amazon still creating new highs after that bounce that we saw earlier. That bounce that we saw earlier a couple weeks ago, beginning of April, as a matter of fact. Bouncing from there, continuing to create new highs. Google also crawling upwards. Oracle also creating new highs, but not all-time highs. Palantir still on a downward trend. Nvidia bumping up against those all-time highs. In fact, just recently, within the last few hours, I think, yep, even this last 4 hours, bumped up again. That all-time high has been pushed. Japanese markets, the Asian markets, have also bumped itself up again to an all-time high of 63.5. Japanese yen, after that drop where we saw that the yen strengthen, it's been consolidating since. US oil, still hanging out, probably just hang out here for the rest of the week. We've got, just a few more hours of trading for the week. Brent, following up with a similar price pattern. US 30, we're going to do our recalculation against gold here because it's been a while since I've updated that. Whoops. So we grab US 30, which is sitting at 49,594. Oops. And we'll divide that by gold at 47.18. That puts us at 10.51 And then for silver, same idea. 49,594 divide 49,594 divided by silver 80.27, and we're at 617. Big drop since the last time. Lost 60 almost 60 ounces of silver. And it makes sense. Silver has jumped up over the last couple of days, 3 days. You can see some increase there. Isn't that interesting how we dipped below this long-term trend line to go to this outer trend line and ended up going out beyond the previous wedge trend line. So we'll see where this heads next. That might very well be all the support it needs to continue rising. But again, it's hard to tell. Today's, it's the last day of the week for trading. And so, we'll likely not see more volume or I'll see more price action.
Would be
but if it finds support
deep into the news, it would be interesting to start to track the events that unfold Thursday, Fridays, and how that affects the markets, because Mr. T tends to have the nifty habit of making announcements after the markets close.
Yep. Mm-hmm. That he does. It's almost like he waits for the weekend to make those announcements. Yeah, I agree.
Would appear so.
Gold bumping up, or yeah, it's actually sneaked out above that trend line. Might use that for support. Gold silver ratio dropping a little bit, finding some a new low from the low that we saw at the beginning, in the middle of April. Bitcoin dominance continuing to rise, found a high that was higher than what we saw in November. This high here, this was a very quick, call that a banker's candle. But definitely found itself a resistance at that 61.3, that area. Found some resistance. We'll see where it takes us next. Bitcoin pulling back a little bit from its bull run from this week. Since the 6th, coming back, looking like it's finding support around that 79-ish, 79, yeah, 79.3. This is Bitcoin against gold, so it's becoming more expensive in gold as well. But if we zoom out on the weekly chart, tells a different story. We would have to see this chart actually go up above 37 ounces for us to say that we are continuing to be bullish.
That's Bitcoin to gold, is that correct?
Yep. Bitcoin to gold. Just got a headline from... Aha, look at that. This is Intel. The company Intel. Their stock has risen quite a bit over the last little while. Maureen made it. Hello, Maureen. From the beginning of April, Intel has gone up 170%, creating all-time highs. And the reason why this headline just came across my feed here is because Apple just signed. Yep, Apple just signed an agreement for Intel to do chip manufacturing for Apple. So that's an interesting move because Apple used to have Intel chips, and then they went and built their own Apple Silicon chips. And they just signed a deal, says here 2 days ago, large contracts for Intel were purchased. And it says here that the contract is for $170, sitting at $126 right now. So people are saying that the investors are calling for $170 Intel stock. Ooh. And that expires on the 6th. What is 6th? That's June, next month. So in a month, they're anticipating this going up to 170.
Wow.
Very interesting. And that is a steep incline. I don't think Intel has done that in the past. Let's go to the weekly chart. Oh yeah, there's been some steep incline, but technically within the last 3 weeks, this 200% rise in the last 3 weeks.
When is it expected that Intel will be shipping chips for Apple? Or did that article mention that? Or what kind of a...
Yeah, this didn't say so much about that. This here was more so just mentioning the unusual nature of the trading pattern, showing that there's insider trading happening. Because the orders, the large majority of the orders occurred before the announcement of the partnership.
Gosh, right? I wonder who that was.
Yeah. Right. Altcoins still rising in market capitalization. So as the money's coming in, although the majority of it is going to Bitcoin, as we see through that almost 61% dominance, altcoins are still gaining. So that is, again, it can occur that way, but it's sign that the altcoins are not losing out. They're not. People aren't pulling out of their altcoins, and
it would almost seem like with Bitcoin going up that the altcoins would go down, but it just seems like they're not.
It means that a lot of money is going into crypto. Just the majority of it is going to Bitcoin. In the past, when we've seen Bitcoin dominance rise, it's been a decrease in altcoin capitalization, which tells us that really it's altcoins moving money into Bitcoin. But with both of them rising at the same time, tells us that the volume coming in is it's very positive. Positive in the sense that it's not like people are pulling their money out of cryptos.
Paul, isn't there a chart that you have that is like altcoins without Bitcoin and Ethereum?
Yeah, that's this one here. Yeah.
That's this one. Okay, that's what I can't see.
Yeah,
it.
You bet.
On this one.
It is kind of tough, yeah. And especially when the chart is covering over the watermark.
Okay. So total 3, what does that mean?
Well, there's total 2, and then total 3. Total is all of the cryptos. Total 2 is Bitcoin and Ethereum. Total 3 is everything but Bitcoin and Ethereum. Good questions. So this is, so still seeing a rise and really not much of a decline from the all-time highs. That's another important distinction. When we take a look at what occurred, let's go back in time, go to the weekly chart. When we look at what happened in 2020, we had the decline from the previous season where things took off when cryptos all of a sudden became headline news. It was an interesting point. I don't know if people have ever seen, like, there's been an increase in ads for exchanges.
Hmm.
Yeah, people like Kraken, they're putting out lots of ads. Come and trade cryptos with us. Bybit is on hard at it as well. Crypto.com. During this time here, I was actually exploring coins and trading and all that good stuff. I was already in Forex, and I had managed to make some good cash in cryptos. And so then what I did was that I started some ads, not for coins. No, I just started some ads talking about how to trade these coins. My ads were taken down within hours. They were not allowed. But now, of course, they are allowed. It's allowed.
Where did you
What's
put
that?
your ads? Where did you put your ads that they weren't allowed?
Oh, I had them on YouTube and Facebook at the time. Yeah.
And now they are.
Oh, now it's like you can't go anywhere. Like, if not, I shouldn't say everybody gets them, but that they are very prominent and, of course, allowed.
Is there any grouping of cryptos, alternate altcoins that are kind of taking the lead in this, or is it just generally across the board?
I would say generally across the board, we're seeing, like all of the tide waters rising, so to speak. But we are going to see a focus on prominent coins, and that's where we get into coin market cap. This chart here, when we're looking at what all of the coins are doing across the board, we can pretty much guarantee that the coins in the top 20 are going to do very, very well. That's where a lot of the wealth is congregating, within those top 20.
Oh, yeah, that makes it really visible, doesn't it? When you see the green and the red. So that's
Yes. Yep. And mostly green.
Yeah, mostly green.
Again, typically when Bitcoin dominance rises, we see a decline in altcoins, but they are all rising right now.
So you check that out with the coin market cap website. That's how you check that out. Okay.
Yep. Also, another thing to be mindful of is, remember how we talk about fear and greed? That's this meter right here. Well, it was only just after Christmas, the meter was at 14. Very much red. Now it's at 48, getting close to 50. So now it's neutral. So that means that we're seeing that shift. We're seeing that emotionality start to tip the other way. But one thing that I wanted to bring up in this regard is going back to Bitcoin. And I want to bring up here. We're going to zoom in on this area. This was January 2018 going into 2019 in this area. Then here, February 2020. Of course, this was the start of COVID. A lot of people panicked. They had to go buy toilet paper. And so they sold their Bitcoin. And we saw market capitalization drop out of cryptos clear across the board. I'm going to be watching for it. And I want to put a little asterisk next to this statement. that it might not happen again. It might not happen this time. The fact that now we have a week's worth of momentum with the hantavirus scare, and Bitcoin, again, let's go to present time. Bitcoin continues to rise with only just a little bit of a pullback over the last few days. I'm not saying that this was their version of panic. And I'm not saying that, it won't happen yet. There might still be a panic where we'll see a drop. But that'll be an indicator to see how people are responding to this next plandemic. I have a sneaky suspicion that we're going to see a drop, but that when we look further at the data as it comes out, it will not be people. It'll be the institutions that are trying to get the price to drop. And the reason I'm thinking that is because when you look at the sentiment that's out there, you can get an idea of how people feel when you look at the response to the news. Remember, the news is what they want people to feel, what they're trying to instill, and then you get a sense of how responsive people are to that by the comment sections. And already people are saying, oh, this again? Yeah, this looks just like COVID. That was a scam too. People are not buying it. There's already subject matter experts coming out saying, why are people even scared of this? Why is this something in the news at all? Because hantavirus is not transmissible between humans. So I think we might be seeing a shift. Whereas, with COVID, it was hard to find someone that to find a conversation with someone rational about that pandemic. This time, I think it's going to be flat. I think it's going to fall flat on its face. And then the other part of me says, yeah, but what if that's the objective? What if that's the objective? See, remember, the controllers, the powers that be, they have to maintain control. And they will do whatever it takes. And I have a sneaky suspicion that, especially since it is most of the content that is produced and what's the word I'm looking for? Propagated. That which gets published is calculated by AI. They may be instilling that response. They very well might be instilling that response, knowing that they need to get the people to dislike the current government so that the next solution can be offered. Audrey Lynn, you went like this and then...
Inception.
Yep.
Predictive
like an inception.
programming. Yep.
So I'm going to be watching the charts for the dip. And the reason I think the dip will be there is because they're selling ETFs at higher volumes right now than they were before, which tells me they want to take in the dollars, but they always wait until the price goes down for them to actually put that money on chain so that they can, get that 20% spread. So the fact that they are selling now and the next pandemic is now here, they have a reason to bring the price down and have a plausible deniability that, oh, it was the pandemic. Because they don't want to buy, if the price goes up, they're losing money from those sale of the ETFs. They need the price to come back down. Remember, those ETFs on Bitcoin, they operate the same as the paper contracts on gold and silver. It's the same business model. Same business model.
Paul,
So-
is there a chance that it's getting more like a chess game than a direct relationship or a direct one-on-one, this happens, then that happens? Because I'm noticing that you're watching like 2 or 3 different things, and so then it becomes more like, and maybe I'm just noticing this because it's time for me to notice it, and you've always been doing it, but it seems like there's more of this multi-levered dynamic going on, or like I said, maybe I'm just noticing it.
I have to go, guys. It's good to see you, Maureen. Bye for now.
You betcha. I'm of the mind, Maureen, that because of the need for control is multifaceted, because some people are following certain narratives. There's a whole world of people that are absolutely terrified of cryptos. And then there's a whole realm of people like me who's terrified of the idea of my money being in the stock market. And those two opposing views are both going to need a narrative to maintain their maintain control over their minds. So yes, multifaceted. And we look at a lot of as much as possible, we look at the correlation between these different assets so that we get a greater idea of how is this going to play out. Yeah.
I mean, just the whole change in dynamic of Bitcoin going up or having an upward trend at the same time that all the other altcoins. So it means, to me, there's a shift in looking at crypto. To me, it indicates that it's not this division anymore. It's either Bitcoin and not the rest. Or do you know what I mean there? But to you, you're a more seasoned eye. What would that mean? Is that people are seeing the value in the other coins in and of themselves? What are your thoughts on?
I think because of the general shift, taken to consideration the Genius Act. Right now, even though the Genius Act was something that Trump brought in right the first month or two after he was, what's the word I'm looking for? After the inauguration.
Yeah.
Within first couple of months was when the Genius Act came out.
Right.
Nobody was talking about the Genius Act. I was, because I saw what it was and the significance of it. But now the Genius Act is in the headlines. Right? So that was a predictive thing. That was like, it had to be in place and instituted for a while simply to provide that time and that momentum to get to the point where now it's important. Right? Now it's key. Well, it's key now because more and more people are recognizing, oh, this is the direction that the finance world is going into. So that, they're always doing that. They always set the stage for what they want to do later. It's similar to the Patriot Act. The Patriot Act, right after 2001, the 9/11 attacks, that was done in direct response to the attacks, saying that we need to have a closer eye on our citizenry for their protection, the surveillance. Well, the Patriot Act wasn't something that was even really talked about for another 3 or 4 years. Similarly, I think that the Genius Act, and I like calling it the Genius Act because it really is quite genius, for it to be something talked about very, very early on with little attention. And after such a long period of time, and after having more escalation of war in the Middle East, we've got more escalation of what do we call it? The xenophobia in America. We've got, look at what happened across several states over the last couple of years with immigration and the clamping down, ICE going around and arresting people and trying to, saying that we have to deport them. Trump's building the wall. That whole narrative was in the first term. Build that wall. Build that wall. My question is now we see that just last week, pastors of Christian churches came out and said, yeah, we had a briefing with the White House. Extraterrestrials we're going to be getting disclosure from the government about extraterrestrials, and we're here to help. We're here to help people adjust to this new reality. Wait a second. What is build that wall? That predictive programming, what is that going to look like when alien disclosure is presented by the government? Is it going to be xenophobic, just like last time? And is the evidence that they present going to be real, or are we going to be dealing with, I think to myself, there very well may be genetic experimentation. I think back to early 2010s, the movies that were coming out were all, many of them, there was a huge swath of these movies that had to do with genetic mutations and experimentation of genetics and creating hybrid humans with other life forms. That is not by accident. These are the kinds of things that I'm concerned we're going to see, where the Matrix will be desperate to keep the illusion going, and it needs to get more extreme because people aren't buying the hantavirus scare. What are your thoughts on this?
Ron is making kraut, so I'm muting in between. Making the beautiful red kraut. Wish we could share it with you. I'm just really. Oh, there's Ron.
Hi, Ron.
Hey.
I'm fascinated with. Well, not fascinated. Let's say that I'm really interested in what Zoa is involved with. I love that idea, especially at this time in life, but just at point in joining a community. And doesn't that feel like the future of home ownership? Or, I mean, in a way, it's like the best of HOAs, or, I don't know, maybe I'm being deluded. But we were looking at like a quarter of an acre and what that would mean. Like, what is a quarter of an acre and how big is that? And
yeah. Big garden.
A nice garden, but also trees and landscape and places to live outside. Look for, but almost year round we can live outside. We can go outside almost every day here. There's really not a day that we can't. Like people in Washington and Oregon, live in the rain. I lived there for a while, and nobody let the rain stop them. That was not. Do you let snow stop? I mean, probably a few days out of the year, snow stops you, but.
Yeah, we get snow days too, where it's like schools shut down, stores have to close just because there's just so much snow. We have to have a snow day, and we sometimes get snowed in. But if that were to occur in the middle of winter, it could last for weeks because we have to wait for it to either melt or get cleared. But for where you're at, like you've got that growing season where you probably have 9-10 months of growing season. Yeah, we got about 5.
Yeah, then you grow other things, like you can always grow cilantro.
Right.
Cilantro likes the cold. Lettuce likes the
Yep.
cold.
Yep.
And then there's microclimates. You can create microclimates in your, your quarter acre or whatever you're growing in.
Mm-hmm.
We just met a guy this morning who lives in what's called the Ortegas, and it's a very rural part by the Cleveland National Forest. And he lives in a community where they have their own little farmers market. So I thought, oh boy. And it's not far from us. It's, it's a distance, but it's not that far. But that's what that's what I would like to join. I said, oh, I'm so interested, in connecting with you and buying from you. His kids are very active on harvesting. But how does that strike you, Paul? Where would you put their concept of, doing a trust and then the quarter of an acre? And what are your thoughts? Is that the future, or is that going to be viable, or what are your thoughts?
It's interesting that this topic come up. I go back to the founding fathers.
Mm-hmm.
The first currencies that they issued before the Federal Reserve came along, over 100 years before the Federal Reserve came along.
Mm-hmm.
What was it that they wrote at the top of their currency?
In God we trust.
That's right. They were not saying just, we trust God to supply us with our needs. They were actually making a defiance against the king's trust.
Oh my God, Paul. Isn't that
Yeah.
weird? I've never read it that other way. That double entendre.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that it's not so much the way that we're yes, we're going that direction. We're gravitating towards these strategies, and more people are going to. But it's more so going back to the way it was, not some new fandangled way of doing it. Nah, this is, and I liken the another parallel where Jesus said, I didn't come here to abolish the law. I came here to fulfill it. And we are simply recognizing that we need to go back to the roots of law. And trust law has greater force and effect than anything that the governments can come forward as monetary policy.
Hopefully it will be more evolved and sophisticated this time around. In other words, this spiral kind of thing, which is nature's dynamic anyway.
I agree. And in fact, I think that we're going to be rising from a bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And there needs to be vigilance in that rising.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that ties in, what I'm a huge proponent of. And I see the Dragon Riders as an integral part of this. When we go throughout history and we look at the ancient writings on how civilizations were built, there were two distinct classes that led the people. There was the priestly class, and then the kingly or the royal class. And that the priestly class actually advised and guided, nurtured the royal class. And that those priestly classes, yes, there were men, but there were dedicated councils of women, and they were elder women. And that's what their role was, to help guide the people spiritually, especially through those first steps of building a new nation, building a new heritage.
Ron wants to say something. What is it, Ron?
They have partial reading.
Okay, what time is it? Oh yeah, did it? Hi, Audrey. Good to see you. You've been through hell and back. Is this the journey home, or is it still deeper into hell?
Oh no, this is I'm actually at work.
Oh, right on.
This is a yard I'm helping.
Nice.
Right on.
Yeah, no, got the document done last night, Paul. 12
You did.
o'clock. Yeah, 12 o'clock, we sent it.
Ooh, that's exciting.
It is. It's a 42-page document.
Share
Wow.
what you did.
Yeah, tell the story.
So, I don't know if you know the relationship I had with a older gentleman. A little bit. Anyway, so he's not doing very well, and he wanted me to look after him when he was getting older, which I would have done, no problem. But his family's not very nice, and so they're forcing me out, and out of a 14-year relationship. And so I had to prove that I had this 14-year relationship, and then just document the last year and a little bit of what's going on. So, and then what they also did recently was he phoned me on Sunday, because he phones me all the time. He phoned me on Sunday, and then I heard nothing from him. And yesterday night, he phones my friend, and he's like, "I'm trying to get a hold of Audrey. Where is she?" And my friend phones me and says, "Hey, he's been trying to get a hold of you." They blocked our numbers. Yeah. So now I've got them on senior abuse too. So, yeah. And I just did this 42-page documenting it all.
Yeah. Yeah. I can hear in your voice. Yesterday morning when we met, you were getting close to finish the line, and I can hear in your voice a lightness. So that's a big shift for you.
Yeah, it's done. It took us from 1 till about 11:30 to get it done. 1 in the afternoon to 11:30 to get her done.
I'd even put the word celebration in her voice.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
I'm done.
I'm done.
Yeah.
I don't know where it's going to go, but I'm done.
Yeah.
I've documented it. I've proved my case, or I've claimed it. I've stated it. I put it out
There's a freedom to declaring your truth.
Yes.
Yeah, and I know that they're screwed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just what they did, what they're doing to their father, and what they did to me. I'm not gonna let it. I'm not gonna let them be those kind of bullies.
Marcia often says, "What you do one way, you do in all ways." Mm-hmm. How you act in this is how you act in all ways. And so what they did is they acted toward you as they acted toward him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like they put the noose around their own neck because they can't help it.
Yeah.
That's just their way.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But it's over. It's done. I'm moving on. I'm getting other crap done now. Figuring out my own. Yep. Now I'm gonna start the living for me.
Yeah.
Creating your life, creating your future, creating your truth.
Yeah. And when I come to the States, Maureen, I have to come and see you.
Absolutely welcome. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Where are you in the States? I'm in Southern California.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll be coming through that way because we're going to go to Yuma area.
Oh, how about Mexico? You're not going to go to Mexico?
Yeah, we're going to go. Yeah, but she's looked into dentists and stuff, and
yeah.
So that's what she needs. So I'm going to go help her do that, and then
So you found dentists in Yuma instead of in Mexico. I mean, Mexico has a lot of good dentists.
It's across the border, right? So you stay in Yuma, across the border.
Across the border. Yeah. Good. I'd be interested in that. I'd be interested in that because my dentist is just like, it's $5,000
Yeah.
if I open my mouth. And it's like, I said, you know what? I'd rather spend that money other ways.
Yeah. Just look at so if you're wanting dentists, just look around the Yuma area and just inside the border of Mexico, there's, I guess, a whole bunch.
I love word of mouth. Ron's making kraut. So,
Oh,
yeah. In fact, Paul, does Audrey know about what Zoa is doing?
Not very much, no.
But I just think it's so interesting that this would be available. I don't know where it's available, but why couldn't you use the same template?
Well, it's interesting, Maureen, where Audrey was with the elderly gentleman that she was caring for. The plan was that she would build upon that land a community. That's exactly the direction that she was going. We even started out, we had the market hosted there for a while. We were planning out what did we need to clear? What did we need to clean up around the yard? What fences needed to be set up so that we could, where would we put, if there were to be people that come in to live, where would we put those plots? It was 80 acres available.
I do remember at the very beginning, you talking about that it was in his will, or
I'm sorry, I have to go because I have to go back to work.
Oh, okay, sounds good.
So glad to see
We'll
you,
talk to you later.
and so happy to celebrate with you.
Yeah.
It's always
Yeah.
good to share a celebration. It's a party when you celebrate it, right? Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Paul, gosh, it seems to me that would be a good template to add to your toolbox, how they're doing it. Go ahead.
I'm anticipating. So the idea behind Next Gen Merchants is really no different from the promptings and seeds that I've been planting for the Dragon Riders. I want the Next Gen Merchants to be those entrepreneurs. Economically, they would be the royal class, being able to inspire people to work together to create their foundations for going forward. We need to build a nation. Our nation is absolutely crumbling right now. And, we need to build it back. And that is only going to occur when we start privatizing our economics. As long as we are under the thumb of the big banks and their economic model, we will always be hitting glass ceilings the whole way through. But that's why I go back to only a free people can build a free nation. And what Zoa brings to the Next Gen Merchants will end up having a ripple effect across several communities simply because they can come to Next Gen Merchants and learn from her.
And I know Judy's big plan is this, to build a community, but I think this is a good way to do it. Inheritable, there's some things that you feel you want to pass on,
yes,
or sell, or move up. Or I love the way the options they have. I mean, that's a good opening door for me right there. Is just, that's somewhere where we would be of like mind. There has to be that like mind, of course. But a PMA would be, isn't that what they're organized under, a PMA?
Yeah.
And then you have numbers behind you. It's like, you're not trying to do this alone, which, I've spent a lot of my life, and I'm sure you have too, but it's a big part of my life, being the lone, person that feels the way I do, and people going like this to me, because of what I hold, truths that I hold, or not even truths, but just a preferred. Oh, good, here's Zoa. We were just talking about you. But I was saying, it's nice to have the sense of numbers behind you or numbers with you, and because of most of my life, it's been people, like going like this when I come around,
Yeah.
save
Yeah.
me from the devil,
Yeah. Yeah.
devil witch, And look at me, I look pretty innocent, don't I? Don't I look like one?
Except for when you rock that, what's her name? Hepburn. But it's not witchy. But it's also not in it. There's a fire to it. I don't know. There's something kind of hearty about it. Yeah.
Well, I still have some of it. It's just time limited now. I'm enamored of this thing that you're doing. I'm enamored of the form and the template. I don't know if you've seen the recent, Paul, for a minute. I don't know if you've seen the recent OG short. It's a little YouTube about taking it to the world, the physical layer, and about bringing it out to the world. You've seen the recent?
I haven't seen it yet. No.
It was just like 5 hours ago or something like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it's a new one. She's talking about what happens when you bring who you are to the world and what happens and the dynamics of it. And is that Ron? Ron's making crowd. So I forget that there's that noise going on in the background.
It's okay.
But you may have something to say, Zoe, and then I'll opt for a quiet time.
I just came on. I just saw the time. I just got off the call and it was like, oh, I'll see if my buddies are there.
Yeah.
And I thought, probably not. But, they might be. And then it's like, of course. It's the hardcore. It's the hardcore. Well, I mean, it's not all hardcore because not all the hardcore is here. But I don't.
Well, they all had to leave. We got some good news for Audrey. But I love it when I see the number 3 or 4 over there. Do you know what I mean? Then I know I'm on the right website. Like, yay, we got the right website.
And I don't know why. Usually I won't come on camera with Zoom, but I just felt like, I don't know. Here I am. Coming into the world.
And we're past the market analysis and all that good stuff anyway. We're just visiting. I
know, but are you still on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of odd, isn't it? Like, I'm just chatting away. I had some tea earlier.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do feel that, that if we say a certain word, that it pops, a little light and a siren goes off in this big room, And they hash mark it, and they come back later to punify.
We have to go back and say things like,
right. Yeah. Well, for the only time I actually had a flag raised against me was right after we first started market analysis. I can't remember what the word was, but all it was violation of the community standards, right? And I think it was actually speaking out against Trump, if I remember correctly, which is just hilarious because before, if you spoke against Trump, you were promoted, right?
It's so hard
now.
To
It's well, it's about when is it convenient.
Yes.
Whose turn is it to use the monitor?
Yeah. I noticed there was a label on when I came in, you have different things. It'll say market analysis or different things that your things say, Metal Mondays. And there was something on it that said something about
Plandemic.
Yeah.
Pre-Plandemic Markets. Yeah.
Okay. Was that a topic today?
Well, I touched base on, the hantavirus plandemic that's now being mongered.
Okay.
And it's hilarious. To me, it's hilarious. I remember I was 13 years old. I was in an Army cadet camp, and we were camping. It actually, tenting and roughing it out in the wilderness, learning bushcraft and map and compass and all that stuff. And there was an announcement. Everybody we were all gathered around the campfire having our little packaged meals there from the military. And the officer in charge had to stop everybody, and everybody had to pay attention because there was the news that hantavirus was running rampant. And that if we saw a mouse, or if we were, oh yeah, definitely. I looking back at it, I imagine how we had I don't know if you guys had this or not, but up in Canada, we had these ads that were put on by the government, and it had a man with a coronavirus head, and it was just no eyes, no nothing, just the great big, coronavirus virus icon. And that's how it was. And I remember thinking to myself, oh, there's this invisible danger that's now in this field that was just yesterday was safe. I remember feeling all that. And looking back at it, I can just think just how ridiculous it was that people were buying that bullshit back then. Hantavirus is not human transmissible. You can't, even if a human contracts it, it can't pass it on to another human. It only goes from the animal to the human.
Is that even after? Well, I should watch what I say here.
Well, I don't even know, because I know that there's even talk about how viruses aren't even real. That viruses, really, what we call a virus is simply the excretion of the body's immune system.
Right.
It's the toxin that
After
is being,
thing.
yeah. So, and I don't know enough about that to have, exomes, that's right. And I don't have,
Yes.
what's it?
Exosomes, maybe? I don't know.
Exosomes, yeah,
It's
something like
either
that.
Exosomes or exosomes.
Is that Dr.
And-
Dr. Tom Cohen?
Yes.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah. And and I'm never going to, I'm actually not even going to be interested in becoming an expert in that.
Yeah. Why?
But
That's the club I'm in. I have people that want to know where I'm at with that or something. And all through this thing, I've said, I protect my right to be a layperson. I do not have to make a decision about this. Like, I can hold both realities and not have to decide and not have to pick a team. And I can be right and wrong on both accounts, or just not know. Gosh darn it.
Yep.
This whole thing, like with Facebook and stuff, where it's like everything that comes out, if a movie comes out, you're supposed to have an opinion about it, and you're supposed to post about it. And it's like, I'm not playing that game. I don't have to have all those opinions. I need that space for other things.
But I need you to post your comments so that I can argue with you.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I disagree.
Yeah. See, that's better. See how much better it is now?
Yeah.
And so, I put up pre-plandemic markets because it's going to be interesting to see. I'm always interested to watch how the markets react, because we're watching. It's like the other day I was having a conversation about this with Ian. I haven't seen him for a long time on market analysis. He's very, very busy. But, I had a conversation with him a little while ago, and he was saying, I think that we ought to be looking for where the markets are going to go instead of focusing so much on the charts, because the charts really just show us history. They don't show us the future. And I was like, yeah, I know. And I get that, but we can't even tell what's going to happen in the future. All we do, with the reason why I look at the charts, is because it's like music. When you go to sit down at a piano, you've got sheet music that tells you the direction of the tones. But that's just another expression of emotionality. And I look at the charts because they tell me what emotions are at play, because that tells me where things are going to go in the future.
Well, let's say it's a good indication. And that's kind of like, it's like, oh, okay, this is the known ground that I was just standing on. Now, what's the next step going to be? Well, that's always the unknown. or it has the potential to be the unknown, but it's still, there's a sense of safety or something. I don't know. It's like, I don't know that it's beyond the mind at that moment, but there's something that coalesces in the body, like the precognition of the body kind of can get a sense of. I don't know where I'm going with this, but it's words that really aren't in our language yet. And I think that's part of this, going into a sense in the body that you allow yourself to move with, that is in the moment and that responds to the moment because it's instantaneous. But the mind is not instant. It's always a little bit behind, right?
Or ahead.
Or no, that's a fantasy. The mind can never really be in the future, but it can anticipate a thought about the future.
Right.
And
I
it
was
can,
also saying it as a pun or a head.
I do know what you kind of mean, but I want to be really clear that there is no future.
Right. Then there's no past, that our mind sometimes gets trapped and arrested even by either the future or the past. And this brings up something that I've been really recognizing about myself and my work throughout I would say since 2008 is when it really hit me hard that I could see the future. I could see the direction of things. And as a result, I became obsessed by what was going to happen. And as a result, that has now translated into me being very unrelatable to a lot of people. And I need to bring things back and recognize that as long as I'm living in some future that hasn't occurred yet, and I'm constantly putting myself into a position where I feel like I'm prepared for the future, I am actually quite irrelevant. And I need to be present to the needs of today and how to guide people today. I'm doing a lot of things that are still very ethereal for a lot of people. And I need to bring it down to practical application of what can be done today.
But that realization is so important for guidance, period. Because that's where everybody goes, is to the future of their projection, right?
Right.
So it's so important to know that is a shattered future, that your awareness brings that to a shattering in a sense.
Right. Yeah.
And it's hijacked. I really like that as a foundation for guidance, is that I don't know the future and I want to look at right now, because that in itself is like incredibly grounding. Like Zoa, I see your group that you're being with. Ron and I talked about that. It's like, oh my God, what a template! What a template that is.
You mean the house thing or the whatever it is, land
The
thing?
land, the quarter of
land trust.
Yeah, land trust. And I know Judy's very interested in things like that, and that whole template of how to do that and how to perfect it. You know, how it could be evolutionary as we spiral up and purify it.
And there's a lightness to it. It's not like,
we
got this land and we're going to anchor here and we're going to be with it. And part of it, there's a lightness, there's a nomadic quality in that people can participate, not be.
Put your finger on it. It's that like follow the buffalo. I mean,
yeah.
Right. That I just felt it so strongly.
And I'm looking forward to sharing. I just feel like it doesn't make sense to share it as I'm.
Yeah. Okay. I'll keep my. It's hard for me sometimes. I get too.
No, you're fine. I'm just like, why I'm not coming forth more on it is because it starts feeling like that cartoon with the coyote that goes out over the cliff. It's like, and then there's beep, beep, and it's like pew.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to. I don't want to do that.
I think timing is like essential. And Paul, that's what you're talking about when your guidance of people and how you are relevant is the timing of, oh, don't be going out into the future. I did that and I know what and it's the wounded healer kind of thing. It's like you did that, the results aren't very good.
There's
Yeah.
also though, like when we do that, when I do that, I'm giving energy to a certain future.
Right.
It's not necessarily the best one.
Well, and it's not
Mhm.
the right place for that energy.
Say that
That
again.
energy should be right now.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Because the
Yes.
future actually comes out of right now. That's where it actually
Exactly.
comes from. But
Exactly.
when we take something into our awareness and we carry that, that's how these other things become real.
Well, they become
Because
no,
we
they don't
manifest
become
them.
real. No, don't use that word. It's not that they become real. They become the hijacked form of
That's
it.
what I mean. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to stumble
Mm.
around to say
Okay.
is like that's exactly how those
Yes.
agendas and that programming works. So
Without the soul, without
right.
the beingness there.
So we're fooled into thinking that we're being preparatory, we're being
Yeah.
we're getting ready, we're
I
making
love this
things,
expression.
and it's a program, it's a lie. The
Right.
future comes out of right now.
I love that, but that doesn't. And not to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Right.
Is there something like a gut feeling? Like I keep getting this gut feeling. Get more water. Get more water.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I kept going, yeah. And then, but the time isn't right yet for whatever reason, because maybe we're going to do something else. And now I'm seeing that, maybe this is the way we're going to get more water and not that way that
Mm-hmm.
I thought, the old way that I thought
Mm-hmm.
we would get more water. So now we're looking at condensation.
I'm so interested in that.
I am too. Believe
Mm.
Arizona has it. One of the companies in Arizona sold it many years ago. During the pandemic, I was watching YouTubes on water, and they were one of the ones in Arizona they could do from the condensation from the humidity level of the roof in Arizona, which that hydration level is very. What is it? Precipitation point is very low. They could still get enough water to feed for a family from a rooftop device. So
Wow.
Ron and I, and it's an old, Paul, just like you were saying, it's an old method. It's not
Yep.
something new. It's something that has been used many, many times, many, many, many thousands of years.
Mm-hmm.
All of these things, and you see something, but it feels like, oh, that's right now, but it isn't the timing. Oh,
Right.
how do you differentiate that? Like, see,
Yeah.
you're saying, oh, it's not ready yet. It's not ready.
Yeah.
It's like, the butterfly in the cocoon and all of that, that the right timing.
Yeah.
So that it occurs, it unfolds naturally, and we're not doing a forcing current to rip the cocoon open and force the butterfly out.
That's interesting because I just came from a call and I said at the top of the call, we kind of share if we have something to share or not. We do a short check-in and then we come around and do a longer one. And I said, well, I've got some things to share. And then I kept feeling through the call and it's like, no, I don't.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
have the energy of it, but it is not like the words aren't coming. The energy to speak isn't coming.
Yep.
And then somewhere near the end, I said I said I had things to share, but I don't. I do. Things are happening. I just want to name that things are happening and it's too soon to speak it.
Gosh,
But I wanted to connect with them in it. Like this is happening and I don't know. It doesn't have labels. I'm really glad. You guys have a little more information about it, but it's like, yeah, this feels like these things that could be life-changing and yet it feels perfectly not no big deal.
It's from a really witnessing point of view of the whole thing. Yeah, it really is a place. I'd like to mark that place of that witnessing and allowing its space to unfold, and your attention allows its space to unfold.
Yeah,
That reminds me of.
I need to underline that for me. Go,
That
Paul.
reminds me of something my mentor told me in 2011. Be present to what the thing is and what it isn't.
Mm.
Yes, this is something that's happening, and yes, I'm excited to share it, and it's not manifested enough yet for me to
Yes.
form the language around it.
Yes. And that's something that has really shifted for me in this time of listening to certain people
Yeah.
that reflect well. I really don't see myself as a follower, and that's nice because that person doesn't want followers, so that works. But I've noticed now, like in calls, I pay much more attention to that. Whereas before, I always had interesting things to say, interesting, helpful things to share with people, things that I thought were, just should be shared around. And I still have those things and they still come up. And then I sit there and go, yeah, but I don't feel like this might even be helpful to the three people that are talking right now, but I am not feeling it come through me. And so I'm not going to say it.
Right.
But you can still hold the energy of it. And then, someone in the call ends up saying it in a better way for that moment.
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
cool. Like,
That does happen. I totally agree. And I'm becoming more aware of that. So I'm going to say that's probably a maturity in being present in a group. Whereas I first thought, I used to tell Ron, I just throw out all these seeds to you, and then whatever lands and whatever fertile soil, that's what we're going to do. But that's not true. It used to be true, but it's not true anymore. And you say things that were true, but then when you say it, you go, oh, wait a minute.
It's not true anymore.
That's not true anymore. Yeah.
And it's not that it's a lie or that it's false, but like, ooh, the energy isn't there. It's not right there. It's a little past or it's a little ahead. It's just not right there.
It's from the mind. Yeah.
And to resist that would be to bring force to it.
Yes.
And we can't force this out.
Yeah.
Nature does not force itself anywhere.
That's interesting.
It is a force.
Yes.
Nature is a force, but it doesn't force itself.
That's really a discernment.
Is it then a suggestion? Is it that's what that's what gives the alien thoughts, that suggestion. And then we open to it as a way of survival, or we think strategy, or a way to win. There's some hook on that. But nature, we just got this, we're looking at this program from Tharila. How do you say it, Ron? Tharila? Thalira. Wisdom, Rudolf Steiner. And anyway, what it is the first sentence is that it's the hold on while I just try to recreate it here. It's this thought that there is this wisdom somewhere that has been preserved for me. And right now I'm old enough to receive it. And it's just a convergence of two timelines. To me, what I saw today, I didn't see this yesterday, but the convergence of the message of this preserved truth and my ability of maturity to receive it, and how they intersect. And it's not a force, it's one of time. So I'm just adding to what you're saying here, Paul.
And what you're saying aligns, it reminds me of what I read recently in the Colburn Bible, which is that before all things were created, the source had the thought of what could be manifest, but that nothing took place until the moment of the word. The commanding word is what gave the manifestation of that which had been thought of. That there is a process. Yeah, there's a convergence where it just takes the moment to be brought forward by the Creator.
Heart math has this phrase, just right geometry, and I've always loved it. Just right geometry where everything converges to or whatever it is, everything comes to this one point of convergence, whether it's 5 lines, 10 lines, triangles, fullness, Buckminster Fuller kind of thing. But the convergence of support lines where things become manifest in more than just a single point, a single cell, if you want to think of it that way. Anyway, gosh, it's almost time. I'm going to leave. I love this right now. I feel like, okay, I'm full and complete and not maybe just tipping over a little bit fuller than I have. So thank you all.
Your cup overflows and it's kind of sloshing out a little bit.
Exactly. Dropping water. So I'm going to stop. I love it with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Indeed. Have a good rest of the day. I got to go too. I've got an appointment coming up. So
see you next week.
Yeah, you bet.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Most welcome.